All right, welcome to the 8th episode of the Kentucky Elk Hunting webinar series. So today we're going to take a much more detailed look at mapping and some of the tools that you definitely need to consider for your elk hunt. As I mentioned in episode 5, where we had a serious talk about elk hunting, the areas that you're likely going to be elk hunting on are going to be poorly marked, and you have to know where you're actually hunting. You've got to know where you're on public land or private land that you've got permission. You can't just take off and go wherever. So these places differ from maybe other WMAs that you're used to being on with marked boundaries and signage and gates. This is a little bit different of a situation out there. So, I would argue that being proficient with some type of portable mapping system is one of the most important things you can figure out before your elk hunt. So with that in mind, we're going to take what is, I think, going to end up being a pretty deep dive into some mapping options. Use them on your phone, GPS unit, computer, while you're out there. So Joe's off today, but we brought in actually somebody that knows a whole hell of a lot more about this than Joe does. So Trey Prather, he's our GIS program coordinator here at Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. He's responsible and has produced every single map you've looked at on our website, all the PDF maps, all the maps that we talk about you checking out in my profile. Trey builds and manages all that stuff, among other important things that I don't even understand. So he knows it. So Trey, take a minute, introduce yourself real quick before we get started.
Hey, buddy. My name is Trey Prather, and I am the GIS program coordinator here at the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. GIS is Geographic Information System, so I handle all of the geospatial data, so any kind of information that is associated with where things are. We also handle like our species database, and we help pretty much every part of KDFWR out in one respect or another. So we're busy here, and one of my focuses here lately has been trying to take some of our legacy products and make them a little bit more interactive and more functional to the user. So I'm hoping that you guys will take advantage of some of these resources I put out there for you.
That's awesome. Appreciate it. Before we jump in, I'm not still sharing my screen, am I? You all are seeing the regular.
Right. Yeah, we're seeing you.
Regular deal. All right. This is new. So if y'all have noticed out there, we changed it up from using Zoom to using Teams because it's easier to share like a phone screen. So we can give you the mobile look at what you might actually be looking at out in the field. So some new technology for me today. All right, so let's jump right in. I've also got Mark Peterson today. You've seen him on a webinar or two this year. The number one thing I want to start out with is just to talk about why you need to be proficient with some form of mobile mapping device. Everybody these days has maybe seen Onyx for your phone, or we've got some other solutions that can be used on your phone. People might have in the past packed a GPS unit with boundary files on it where you know where you're at. It is exceedingly difficult to go onto some of our elk hunting areas with a paper map and really understand where you're at. The imagery, even imagery that's a year old, maybe that you've got printed on a map, it's going to look very different on that map than it does in real life just over the course of a year. We have hunters every year that go on to these places with expectations that the boundary will be marked, that there will be signage, that they'll pretty well be able to drive into the middle of it and stay on that area all day. And that's just not the case in East Kentucky. Like we've talked about before, a lot of these areas are private land. They might not necessarily want us to mark the boundaries. We don't necessarily have the resources to mark what is about 250,000 acres worth of boundary in rough country. So having something in your hand that you can reference and see a dot on a map with the boundary around there is critical. There's also other advantages to having a mobile mapping solution. You can look at the topography. You might be in some dense cover and not know that there's a big ridge in front of you or a big hollow in front of you. Being able to pull that up, put it on topo map, you can see that kind of stuff. It gives you an opportunity to mark roads and points of interest and places where you saw elk the day before. You might have a bugling elk that you didn't get to before dark and want to walk back in on that same track to start in that same location the next morning. highly useful, all possible with a few of the things we're going to talk about. Some of these things cost money, something like Onyx, Go Hunt has an option now. Those are all great solutions. I've used them before out west. I use them for work all the time here in Kentucky. But Trey actually put together what is going to be a free solution using Avenza maps, and it's something that we experimented on a bunch of our prescribed firework that we did on the mines in the east. These areas are so big, the areas we're burning are so big that a paper map just simply doesn't cut it. So being able to know exactly where my folks are while they're burning, or know exactly what part of the burn line you're on, either way, we've tested it. I've kind of making the transition from maybe using Onyx to using the Avenza. It gives me a little better option to make the kind of map I want. We'll let Trey get into that as it comes. But the important thing here is this is something you got plenty of time, even for our bull archery hunters, you got plenty of time to figure this out. Super important. It will keep you legal. It'll keep you hunting on the property that you've got permission to hunt on, or the regulated area that you're hunting in, or even the unit that you're supposed to be in. It'll keep you in that unit. And it is an important skill to have. And an important, I also think it's a huge advantage being able to map out in the mountains. So I'm going to start off. We'll get into some of the mobile options, but you've heard a lot probably on YouTube from some of the Western hunting personalities about e-scouting. That's just as important here in Kentucky, being able to sit at home on your computer and look at the area that you might have been drawn for, or look at the unit that you've been drawn for. So one thing, and I'm going to jump into it. I'll start off. So I'll cover our interactive elk hunting map. You might have seen it on my profile or on the web. And then we'll jump to Mark. He's going to talk about Google Maps. We've got a good solution for putting KML files. We've got a repository of KML files that you can put into Google Earth and really tailor that map to how you want it. And then we'll talk a little bit about PDF maps, and then jump over to Trey to talk about Avenza and some of the mobile solutions. So, y'all got anything before we kick it off? It's basically me stalling so I can find where I put all these things. And also share my screen. Let me know when this is shared. Just share it. Yeah. Looks like it's working.
Good now.
All right. So if you go to our main Kentucky Fish and Wildlife page, hit the hunting tab up at the top. We've walked through this a couple times. Scroll down and hit the elk. If you go to our elk hunting info page, so that's the kid holding the nice bull there. This is the same place I'm sure many of you have been many times, but you may not have looked at the Elk Hunting Browser Map. And this is really, I'll be honest with you, when I'm talking to you on the phone and we're talking about stuff, this is usually what I've got pulled up in terms of just as a quick reference. So, make sure we're talking about the same thing. And essentially, this is a very, very current, interactive version of our map. So, I've kind of zoomed in on Defeated Creek. This is Unit 5 right here in the middle, Car Creek Lake, Defeated Creek. Let's say you draw Defeated Creek. We've got updated boundary layers over aerial imagery. We've also got the layers for the restricted areas, which are important. These are areas that are still being actively mined that you're not allowed to hunt. We basically want to, keep people out of there where they've got equipment working. Some of them are logging jobs that we want to keep people out of just for their own safety. Specifically looking here at Defeated Creek, you can come up and toggle your different layers. So we can get rid of restricted areas if we want to. I wouldn't, but we'll leave those on there. And then we've also got, your legend over here. So red's restricted. We've got brown's regulated areas. Anything in green's public access. If we scroll over here to the west a little bit, you start getting into the blue, which is Daniel Boone National Forest. Tell me if I'm wrong here. I found it. Another thing that I really like about this interactive map is you can change the background imagery. So by clicking over here on the 4 tiles, you can add, now I've got the road system that comes up in here. So that's the imagery hybrid. So again, if I'm hunting Defeated Creek, I can see that it's bordered by Highway 463. It's got the town names. Anybody that's hunting Defeated Creek needs to take a drive up Defeated Creek Road. So that's the hot tip. That's my hot tip for the day. While we're zoomed in here, that's a good access point for that. If you scroll down here a little bit further, you can hit Topographic Map as your base map. So this is the standard USGS topo map that I find highly useful. Still got some roads. It's got some other little landmarks on here.
Just as a note, those white points are access points where the areas are available from the road.
Oh, that's a great, I forgot all about that. So let's click on that access point. So this is access point to Defeated Creek, tells you what units in, gives you a lat and long to use it. And then some notes down here, take Highway 463 via 699 to get to that access point. Those are certainly not the only places that you can access these properties from, but they're ones we've identified and are generally a good place to start. So like I said, when I'm talking to you on the phone, I'm usually on this imagery hybrid base map. And if you call and say, hey, I'm curious about Defeated Creek, I'm usually sitting here looking at it. It just helps me talk about it better, helps me remember some things about it. So this is really my go-to, in the office or at home thinking about the elk zone. This is my go-to because it's built. Trey's put it together in a manner that's useful. It's got all the info that you would need. It's got the zones. It's got the public land, regulated areas. And just to close out, it's got a couple of tools. You can take measurements. You can do areas. If you think, if you're again down here on Defeated Creek and you want to park at this access site here, you can measure how far it might be, how far of a walk it might be to get to this next ridge over here. So pretty highly useful. And I will say, this is my go-to when I get a phone call, when I'm thinking about maybe some research we're doing. I'm usually looking at this map just because it's put together with all the tools that you need to really kind of survey the elk zone. So guys, feel free to jump in on anything I've forgotten. I just wanted to be quick on this one. I think lots of folks have probably played around with it a little bit.
I did want to say I've added a couple more features. Do you care if I take the wheel for just a second, John?
Yeah, if you can unshare me, that'd be great. I was just looking for that button.
Yep, let me take over for just a second. I've added a couple more features that might be useful to you all. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Got it.
Okay, so these widgets up here, so there's a print widget right there, which is super useful. So when you've got the view you want, you can go right here and click print, and it will pull up this little menu, and you've got your layout right there. You hit print, and it creates a PDF for you. And this will be a more important later when I'm talking about Avenza, because you can actually take these PDFs and upload them directly into Avenza maps, and they'll be geo-referenced. You can take them into the field with you. So if I open up this PDF right here, you'll see it gives me the exact view of the map I was looking at right there in the window. Another tool you've got to get to your final map view right here is you've got this filter function. So you can see right here, I've got, at the moment, I've just got the elk regulated areas that you can search by county and by name, and then I've got the elk areas that are available to hunt. So if you want to search by any of these parameters, all you do is toggle on your filter right here. So let's say I want to find a specific WMA. Say I want to look at Ataya. There we go. So it takes me to Ataya right there. I'd have to turn off my other layers in my base layer map right here. If I turned off my elk regulated and my Dam New Boone, this actually filters out to just the Ataya WMA right here. So you can find out the exact area you want to go to, get the view that you want of it, And then you can go up here and print out a view of that. You can switch your base map, like John was telling you earlier. If you want a topo of the area you're going to hunt, turn that on and then create your own little printout. The idea here is you can make your own map. You know what area you want to hunt and you know what you want to do. So we just want to give you the option to customize the map as much as you want to. Okay.
And I think it's Ataya is a good example of the fact that it's got several different chunks. You know, it makes up a good portion of the Middlesboro regulated area, but you've also got stuff up in Bell and Leslie County that you might not know about. Another one that comes to mind is Boone Forest Land. So that filter, I think the filtering idea is really handy to find some of the little chunks, you know, that might not be the ones that everybody else is picking up. So, you know, yeah, that's Boone Forest there. You can see all the little outlying tracks of it. A good portion of those have elk on them, and maybe we'll have less people. So another hot tip of the day.
You can find areas that people maybe don't know about. So
exactly.
So, and then one last feature I wanted to highlight as well is this near me function. So if you're looking for a place to access one of these hunting areas, you can either use your current location where you're at, but I'm in Frankfurt, so that's not going to be very useful for us. So I'm going to go up here and drop a pin, and let me drop a pin right there. And now I'm going to search for access areas within this range right here, right? So I can turn the slider on to where I'm looking for elk access within 20 miles. And then right here, it's going to list all of the available access to me. So I can click on this one. It will take me right to this access spot. And then if I want, I can click directions. And it will actually give me directions that I can go right here and print out. So,
oh man,
a lot of tools built into this little map right here that can make your life a lot easier in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of stuff. And again, Trey has added that stuff to add functionality for the elk hunters. I mean, having the ability to get some directions is something we didn't have before. And I think that can be pretty useful, especially on the windy East Kentucky roads. So, you know, and it's been fun to see this map evolve into, I think it's you know, much better for this batch of elk hunters than it was last year, just in terms of functionality with that added stuff. And the other thing I want to point out and sort of compare this to something like OnX. So OnX is hosted by a third party. They've got ways that they pick up our data from places that we house our mapping data. They'll kind of soak it up. This interactive map that you're looking at here and some of the other things we're going to be talking about today are completely in-house. So if there's a change that comes up midstream, we gain property, maybe we lose property, maybe they put in a new restricted area, it'll be reflected on this kind of stuff well before OnX is ever going to have that change. So, you know, looking at this map, you're 99%, I would say 100% that this is up to date, accurate, good to go. OnX, I can't make that guarantee. It's kind of out of our hands. We produce the data, it sits there, not sure necessarily when they pick it up. So that's something to think about. This is a great reference, even if you combine it with you know, something like OnX as well. So I like it. That is awesome. I learned something today as well. So so with that, and shout at us if you've got questions about any of this mapping stuff. The big thing, once everybody gets their regulated area here in a week or so, this is when you're going to really be able to dial into at least a zone, if not a specific regulated area. So basically the map for each one of our hunters is going to get much smaller. They'll be able to focus in on a specific area as opposed to looking at the whole zone like you've done most of the summer. So we'll jump over to Mark, and he's going to talk about Google Maps, Google Earth. And this is another one of those things that is sort of a quick, we've got some really fancy mapping software and abilities. You know, Mark and I'll use it for research. Trey uses it for building maps and doing other things that, I'm not going to say it's clunky. It's just got tons of options and you can do some really complex stuff. And we use that. But for sitting at my desk, talking to elk hunters, planning an elk hunt here in Kentucky, I'm using the interactive map and I'm going back and forth between that and Google Earth just because they're easy. And so I'm going to let Mark jump into Google Earth and talk about how to kind of get it set up like the interactive map that we just looked at.
Yeah, so as John mentioned, Google Maps, Google Earth. Google Maps is just a free, just Google Maps online. I'm sure plenty of people have already used that for just general directions. Very, very easy map, just very general, very basic, not all the extra interactive layers on there, as you mentioned. So all right. So yeah, just wanted to go over just some real basic stuff in here. So this is just the default screen that opens up. To get to kind of what the interactive map layer look like there, just kind of click on the layers. And that'll bring the satellite imagery up, similar to what John had showed on the interactive map for imagery, just to see what areas look like, just to get a real quick idea of what's available in these areas, and just to see the road networks and pick up on some of the road network up on some of the wildlife management areas, kind of the Boone Forest Lands area. That probably a lot of hunters in Unit 3 will be focusing on kind of accessing this area. And then you go also down at the bottom left there, you can go to the terrain feature also. And that's where you can then bring up the topo lines, like John had showed you on the interactive map here. Just another way to get an idea, kind of seeing the ridges running through here, the topo lines, being able to see how steep certain areas may be, and being able to pick up the ridges and the flat areas. Just a basic.
I will say you've got a good example right there. So that's a mined out area. That's going to be kind of a grassland, and this the topo imagery they've got really reflects the areas that have been mined. So I actually use this a little bit. I mean, we were scouting to put in some fire breaks, and I can actually see some of these benches that come around on there. That's useful for what I was doing. So you can find that elsewhere, but this is a good quick place to look it up.
Yeah, and as John mentioned, that's I guess leading into next week's for elk biology. Maybe they're being able to pick those benches up are very key for scouting elk here in Eastern Kentucky. They love to travel on those benches, bed, have calves on them a lot of times. So yeah, being able to pick those benches up just off from ridge lines is a very key feature to look at when you're doing a little bit of e-scouting here. Being able to, I would say probably right here, John was talking, is probably a good bench right here is my guess. Looking at that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of looking for these really white, distinct areas there that are just benches right off ridge lines.
Mm-hmm. So that's Mark's hot tip of the day. That's a good tip. Look for the benches. This is a good way to look for it.
And yeah, hot tip, this Big Run Road will lead you to a public hunters access for all that public land you want to hunt. And there's just all kinds of CF Attaya, Boone Forest Lands, Elk Forest, WMA up this Big Run Road, right on the Bell Harlan County line there. So that's one of the major access points to get up into a lot of the public land in Unit 3. So yeah, I think that's all I had for the Google Maps part of it, unless somebody else has something else to throw in.
No, I think that's got it. So what you're going to be missing just using Google Maps is the ability to put the boundaries in there. And I'm sure there's some way to do that, but we've got a little bit easier solution on Google Earth, which is a free download. So yeah, we'll let Mark jump into that.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to get this thing in my way here. Can't get to my tab. There we go. Okay. So the next one is Google Earth, which you can use online, but it seems like it's really clunky. So I'd highly suggest downloading the program, Google Earth, if you're going to use that product. Again, you can just search Google Earth on any search engine and download that program. And then we have what are KML layers, that's what you can use. That's how you can get the Kentucky elk hunting units, the access points, the public hunting areas, kind of like the interactive map that John just showed. So you can get those from the My Profile page down the additional information, Google Earth Layers for elk. And that'll bring up these directions here on how to access those layers. And this is the kind of this housing area that John mentioned where some of this data is. So click on this link here to go to that'll take you to this page here, and then to download the data, say you want to download the Kentucky elk hunting units, select on that elk hunting unit, and then view full details, and then the download button here. And then you're going to be looking for this KML. So click on this pull down menu here and generate new download with latest data. I've already downloaded these, so I'm just showing how to do it. But it'll open up here in your downloads, wherever that downloads to. And then save that file to where you know it is in a file, in a folder that you know where it is. So then you can access that. Then you're able to open that KML in Google Earth and use that layer. And these directions are again, they come up there, and also the game maps. If probably just on our website here, the general website, just search game maps, and the Kml layers, the hunting areas are here, which will it'll open this website. And then the how to obtain Kml layers directions are there too. So it's in game maps, and on My Profile you can get access to these.
Yeah, so what really you're going to end up downloading about 4 or 5 different files to get regulated areas, public land, elk zone boundaries, and Mark's showing
Correct.
you what his map looks like right here.
Yep. So that instruction sheet will tell you, it breaks down 3 different scenarios on which maps you'd want to download if you just wanted to certain things, or you can download all 5 of them there. So once you have that file in a folder where you want to get that into Google Earth, you just go to File, Open, and then navigate to that folder wherever you save that to. Double click on the layer, or click once and then hit the open button. And then it defaults down to this temporary places folder, and you make sure that you click on it and bring it up to My Places, or it will disappear each time you open the program. It won't be there anymore. If you move it up to the My Places, it'll stay on the Google Earth every time you open that program then. So, and then when I did this, the public hunting areas and the regulated areas both came in as red. Google Earth just kind of defaults to whatever. So you can change that by right clicking on it, on any of the layers, and going to properties. And then the style color tab and share style. And then you can change the line colors here by clicking on this color, and it'll bring up the color palettes that you can make it any color you want to. So you can change each one of these to kind of make it look different. So these reds here, I got regulated areas, and yellow are the public areas on this map. So just being able to phase it out and look at different layers, just so they're not all the same, so you kind of know the difference between the regulated areas and the public areas.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to point out how irregular the boundaries are while we're looking at Boone Forest lands. There are no properties out here that are square or even rectangle. So the best you might get, I think that's Patty Matty Unit 3 down there in red. That's about as square as you're going to get. So it's important to be able to navigate the twists and turns of these boundaries for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is Patty Matty there. You're saying that's square, but yeah, this is Boone Forest lands here, just kind of there, and that's an off limits area there, processing place for mining, but yeah, it's a mismatch of properties all over the place. And yeah, there's Boone Forest land, there's little CF chunks in here, big elk forest, WMA chunks mixed in throughout all this for the public land there. So that's once you get those in, and then say you want to make, say you want to maybe look at the interactive map and compare it to this one, you can add waypoints here by clicking on that yellow, and it'll show up on the map, and then you just click on it and drag it to where you want. And this is that big run road access point there. So you can name it whatever you want to there, and then hit OK, and it'll save it there. And this will kind of come in play some, because then you can go to the print here. Maybe. So there's the ability to print these, so you can still maybe have paper maps out when you're wanting, but what Trey's going to go over is going to be a lot better than the paper maps, as we said. They're just not very intuitive to work with the boundary issues here. So you can print them out there. And then same thing as the interactive map here. There's the ruler in this toolbar here that you can change it to miles, feet, yards, whatever you want to. But yeah, you can just click once and then drag the line and click again, and it'll tell you it's 1 mile up that road there. But I would keep in mind here that it's not flat in southeastern Kentucky, so those are flat line distances. So it may be quite deceiving depending on how steep the terrain is there. It may be a lot further, might be a lot further across for hiking wise. It's just something to keep in mind when you're out using the measurement tools here.
Yeah, one thing that I really find useful on Google Earth is kind of the pan and tilt function, where you can kind of get down in a valley and look at things. It helps me use it a lot for when we're working out there. Use it a lot to find good helicopter landing sites when we're doing research, just to know what, if there's a big mountain next to where I want to land. So pretty useful.
That's my next point here. I was looking at my little outline there. So yeah, as John mentioned, you can, on my mouse, I've got the scroll wheel in the middle. So if I push down on that wheel and then move my mouse around, you can circle around. But then if you move it up and down, you can tilt it. Tilt, and then you're able to really see all these different ridge lines here. The ridge line there, ridge line here, ridge line there. I can try to see if this gets a little bit better. And this is the same. I kind of did this on purpose. This is the same view that I was looking at on Google Maps here, just to get try to get the same type perspective. But you can kind of see these lines that there could be possibly old road here, old bench that elk that could possibly be using these for traveling up to these mined areas here. Mined areas that are probably grasslands. This one in particular, I know, yeah, this is one of the grasslands that they tend to use during the summer. Not guaranteed they're going to be out there during hunting season, though. It's pretty open there, and I'm guessing they're pretty smart about hunting in this area now. But yeah, you can move it around, and if you don't have that scroll wheel, you can keep zooming in, and it'll eventually enter what's called the ground view mode, which is the same deal as holding the scroll button there to do the pan function. So you can get what it looks like from the ground there, being able to see the ridge lines, the hollows, being able to just kind of get the lay of the land for scouting purposes. That's where this really comes in handy, is just doing the e-scouting, kind of looking at areas that ridge lines, and off those ridge lines, the upper thirds of the slope where elk tend to use those areas a lot more, and then kind of trying to figure out where their food sources may be to try to find some elk sign when you get your boots on the ground out there.
Absolutely. Anybody got anything else on Google Earth, Mark?
No, I think that's all I had for Google Earth. Oh, actually, one thing here in the tools, options, if you would rather use, I got mine set up for a lat long, but in the 3D view, you can do degrees, minutes, seconds, degrees, decimal minutes, or universal transverse Mercator, UTM. So whatever units that you like to use for, say you have a GPS, whatever system, whatever coordinate system that you like to use, you can change that in the tools options 3D view tab there. You can change that, and then it'll show you on the bottom here wherever you move that cursor, it'll give you the units there. So then you can plug it into Onyx or some of the other whatever mapping feature that you're using to be able to add waypoints on there too.
Yep, all useful. I mean, and this is kind of where we're at right now. I mean, prior to scouting, do some e-scouting. Look at Google Earth, look at the interactive map, and learn as much as you can, and then get down there and you know, kind of soak it all up. So I like it. This is all stuff that I use on a daily basis, and it's you know, pretty intuitive. It takes a little getting used to, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Google Earth will work on an iPad, work on your computer, just about anything. But you don't necessarily have the ability to be off the grid, away from cell service, and use it. So if we're good with kind of the computer-based e-scouting, we'll jump into the main event and let Trey talk about how to use Avenza. And it's something that I guess at its simplest, Avenza can take a regular old PDF map, and it knows where it's at in the world and knows where you're at on that map when it's in your phone. That's the extent I've got. You know, that's all I've got. Trey will give you the details, but it essentially allows you to have the most updated map, the most updated info you've got, and then take it in the field with you without the need for cell service. So that's kind of the bottom line. We'll let Trey speak.
All right, so I've got one slight correction. It does have to be a special kind of PDF, a geo-enabled PDF. So you can't just grab any PDF. So
Okay,
all right. When you go to export it from ArcMap or Google Earth, wherever you make it from, sometimes there's an option you have to check to embed that geographic information with that PDF when you do it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my phone and kind of walk you through one of these workflows real quick. And we're going to circle back around to that interactive map that John showed you guys earlier. Give me just a second. I'm going to share my phone screen so you guys can kind of see what it looks like on the user side. Let me know when you can see.
Good.
All right, so there's my phone. We don't have any echoes coming through, do we?
No, sounds good. I'm just on here twice, which is scary.
All right. Should be fixed here in a second. Let me know. All right, there we go. So I think we've got a little bit of a lag going on, so I'll try and be as slow as I can to make sure you guys see what's going on. So right here is just the Fish and Wildlife homepage right here, right? So we're gonna go to that same page that John showed you earlier, if I can remember how to work our website. Hunting page, and then we're gonna go to Elk Hunting Info. Elk right here. Elk Hunting Info. That's coming through all right for you guys still, isn't it?
Yep, looks good.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to go down here in the same place, and that same Elk Hunting Browser Map that John showed you guys earlier is accessible through this phone as well. So we're going to click on this Elk Hunting Browser Map link and open this browser map and application here in this phone. And those same tools that we had available to us earlier on our computers are available here in the phone as well. So I'll give it a second to load. And once it loads up, right here, this is just a splash screen that kind of explains some of the tools that we have here on this app. So if you need a reference, that's a good place to look. But you can see right here is that same map. So I can go in here and toggle the layers on and off that I want. So let's say I got drawn to a regulated area. Let me go and turn the rest of the areas off. And we'll go down here and let's say I'm hunting at Cambion, and I want a view of this specific area of Cambion. So I've got that restricted area, so I need to be careful. So I'm going to go ahead and print out this view like we talked about earlier, And this is on an iPhone. The same workflow, I believe, will work on an Android, but I would double check before relying on it. It did in the past. So I'm going to print out my map right here. Sometimes it takes a second on the phone to print out this PDF.
And so just to clarify, you're not physically printing it out. You're printing it to a PDF.
Yeah,
right?
you're
Yep.
printing to a PDF. So you can see right here, I've got this PDF that was generated. And it is right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the share button. I'm going to save this PDF to my files on my phone. Let's just put it on my phone right here. On my iPhone, and let's see where would be a good place to put this. Let's go. Let's just go downloads. Let's save it there. All right. So now I've got this PDF available to my iPhone. So we are going to, if you haven't already, go ahead and download Avenza Maps, which I've got the app right here, but it's available in the App Store. Pretty easy to find. Just go type in Avenza, and it should be the first thing that pulls up, Avenza Maps. Download and open it up, and then you will have to create an account, but it's pretty straightforward. You just sign in with an email or whatever. Then after you sign in with an email, there's this option right here, and you can either go to the map, and you can go to the store and purchase a map, which there are some available from the Division of Geographic Information here in Kentucky. They're just general topo maps. But if you want to create your own map from that interactive web browser we just saw and store it there, you can go right here to your storage locations and look right here. Here's the map that I printed off from that application. So it's loading this map. And all of a sudden, this map is now available to me. So I can take this in the field, and as long as I have, GPS enabled on my phone, this will track where I'm at in the field by hitting this. So I'm not on the map, so it's not going to show me. But you can go in here, you can use this tool, you can draw and measure. You can add waypoints if you want. You can submit that. And there's a whole tool set here that's available to you. You can record your GPS tracks as you go in the field. You can do all sorts of things. So that is one option that is available to you in the field. And then another option that we have made available, and actually here is a good time for me to talk about an external GPS receiver. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen for just a second, because this also applies to Avenza as well as the next product I'm going to show you. So this right here is called a Bad Elf, but Garmin makes a similar product. There's all sorts of products out here, but they are Bluetooth GPS receivers, right? And so there's a Garmin one you can get that's pretty good. I've used in the field for $100. And all you do is you can connect to your iPhone, and then this gives you access to the GLONASS system of satellites, which is what all the Garmin that people use take in the field with them, they used to tie into. It just enables you to use the interfaces and the tools available on the web with accurate geospatial information as well. So I highly recommend this for that Avenza workflow and for this next workflow I'm going to walk through.
So just to jump in for a minute, so that thing is just going to give you, it's going to give your iPhone or Android the same GPS precision that maybe a handheld unit would have.
Exactly. Yep.
So to be really precise, that's the way to go for sure.
Yep. So you've got your user-friendly interface on your phone, and then you've got the accuracy of your handheld Garmin you used to take in the field with you. Yeah. And then, let us build the maps and applications for you, and then you can go do make what you want out of them. Let me share my phone again, and I'll walk you through this last workflow, which is probably my favorite one. Just a second. All right, my phone's back on the screen.
Yep.
Okay. So let me go back here to Safari. Let's close out that application. And let's go to these ArcGIS Explorer application instructions. So it's actually outdated. They've since upgraded Explorer. I need to change that in the website. But Esri produces an application that used to be called Explorer, but now it's integrated into an app called Field Maps. So this is an app that's freely available in any app store, Android or Apple, and it allows you to take that same interactive elk hunting map that's on the website, take the whole thing into the field with you. So we put a set of instructions right here on the website for you to go in and learn how to download field maps. So I will show you right now. Field maps should be one of the first options. So I'll download this on my device. It shouldn't take too long. It's a pretty quick download. Of course it would do that. And then it works without me changing a single thing. So it's pretty straightforward. And I'll kind of walk through some of these steps as this is downloading. One way you can do this is, you see this little QR code right here. If you've got a QR scanner or Google Chrome has one built in, you can actually just pull up this scanner. Let me start from scratch again, just to show you for an example. So I've got this QR code pulled up on my computer screen. I can go up here and scan this QR code, and it will automatically start this field apps download for me as well. Now, if you had field maps already downloaded on your device, it would actually take you to the specific. We need just a minute for this app to finish download. But if you already had that downloaded on your device, it would take you exactly to that specific map, and you wouldn't have to search for it or anything. So give me just a second to let this finish download. I'll walk you through the rest of the steps as well. So there are a couple of steps with this field maps workflow that you need to go through. Once you download the field maps app, you do need to skip sign in because you probably don't have an ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise account. You can create an ArcGIS Online account for free, though, for personal use, if that's a route you may want to look at. Within that software, if it is downloaded yet, so it is open. So let's go back through and scan this again and see if it doesn't open directly in the application. Okay, so that's not going to take you directly to the map. But once you open in here, you don't need an account to sign in. You can go up here to the search bar and just type in KDFWR Elk. And right here with our official shield, this is the map that you want to open up. And then here's allow field maps to use your location. I usually just do allow while using it. But everything you just saw in the browser is available right here at the tip of your fingers. So you've got a lot of the same functionality you have in the browser map right here in your hands. The only difference is you can take this offline in the field with you. So if you want to turn off some of these layers, say you're working on a regulated area, we just want our regulated access points, we'll turn off Daniel Boone and the other layers. So now we've got, there we go. So now we've got our regulated areas and our restricted areas right here on this map. So the reason that, well, one of the advantages is you can do a markup here if you want to. So you can add points and add notes to this point if you're somewhere in the field. So once you viewed this map and you want to take it into the field with you to where you can work offline, you need to go right here on the right hand side and hit add offline area. Now once you hit that, it's going to pull up this menu, and you need to do this before you go in the field. But yeah, as long as you do this before you go into the field, you have all of this at the tip of your fingers. So right here, you can change the level of detail that it saves the offline area. I think town is usually going to be about good for what you all need. I've got my areas. Give me a second to download my areas real quick. That's turned back on. All right. So add offline area. Let's make it level of the town. All this data is available to you. There we go. It's taking a minute to load. We're on working on cell servers. So let's say this is the area I want to work on right here. Going to eventually load, then I can hit download area. Turn on some data for download settings. So apparently that's the setting I have to turn on. All right, let's try this again. Sorry. Add offline area. You can go through and find the specific area that you want to focus on. Then you hit download area. Now you give it a minute. Well, you don't need an account to do this. It's bringing that up. But there must be one layer that I don't have that setting enabled on. Once you download this area, it will store that area on your device. And then you can take it into the field and you can link up one of these Bluetooth receivers like I was talking about. So I'll show you how that works real quick. Teams app real quick. What you do is you turn on your Bluetooth receiver. I'm going to turn it on. Share my screen again real quick. You go to your settings. And your bad elf should be discoverable as a device. Mine's actually already paired up, I believe. But you pair it just like you would a set of headphones or something. And then you go in here in your Field Maps app. And for your provider, just a second. But either way, you pair it here in your Bluetooth settings, and then once you pair it with your Bluetooth on your phone, then it is available to you as a provider here in Field Maps. And once you have it as your provider here in Field Maps, then you are able to have the accuracy of these GLONASS satellites and the functionality of that browser map to you. I'm sorry, it's not functioning properly, but the idea gets across. I'll set up some instructions and put on the website and have a little bit better walkthrough of that. I'm sorry that's not working properly, but that's the general idea. So.
No, that's great. I mean, and so most of the time, so I do a lot of work out in the field, use my phone. I mean, that's going to get you close enough to know if you're on the right property. I mean, give me an estimate on what the error might be on an iPhone or something.
It depends on your cell signal, at least on the older iPhones, because it's an average of the 3 closest towers to you. So it kind of just like takes a reading from each and then says, well, he's right about here based on the accuracy of it. So when you get in some of elk country like this, which you've spent more time in it than I have, John, in some of these, steeper cliff lines, it can be, 50, 60-foot accuracy a lot of the times, maybe a little bit more, but most of the time that's plenty good for what you need. And if you've got a clear view, then it's, a lot of the times about 20 or 30 foot. And if you add one of these external Bluetooth receivers, then you can be within about 10 foot most of the time.
Right. And I'm actually thinking I'm probably going to buy one of those to pair up with a non-cell phone iPad, just so I've got a little bit bigger screen. And then we're spending a lot of time right now walking what are eventually going to be fire breaks, so we can do some habitat work out in this country. And I was noticing that my phone was putting me about 20 feet up the hill from where I actually want the break to go. So if I was giving that track to a guy on a dozer or something, I want him to be down there on that road, not 20 feet up the hill. So probably going to try to improve and get one of those for that iPad. But I will tell you, for anybody out there that has used Onyx maps, the way to get offline imagery on the ArcGIS thing is very similar, where you're taking that box, you're putting it around the area that you want, you're downloading it. The advantage that you're going to get by using one of the kind of the systems that we've got complete control over is that the data will be much more accurate than it might be with Onyx. They're about the same in terms of their intuitiveness and their, quickness to learn. And I think they can also go hand in hand. If you're already an Onyx user, might also be good to have one of these to kind of back you up if we've got some land areas that change, and just see if it works better for you. For me, I've been using Onyx for years, and I've completely transferred over to using ArcGIS on my phone, and very lately using Avenza map. So I'm able to sit at my computer with kind of my fancy mapping software when we're going out to look at these burn units and make the exact map that I want to be looking at when I'm out there. So, for an elk hunter, working through what Trey talked about, that's going to be more than fine. And Avenza is fantastic. Super easy to use is one thing I've noticed. It's not got a million features. It's got what you need. And so, those kind of places, I really feel like getting an offline map and or using Avenza, if you've got your hunting area dialed in to a reasonably sized area, let's call it a 10 square mile box. That's more than any of us can hunt in a couple of days. That's really where I think this stuff comes in, where you've got a really good look at detail on the ground in some smaller areas. Now, with that said, you might need 4 or 5 different maps to get the level of detail that you need, but you can jump between them pretty easily. So we get a lot of comments every year. Like we've suggested Onyx in the past. Yes, it costs money. The big benefit of these other things that Trey talked about is they are absolutely free, and accessible on iPhone, on an Android. So it's an option that's out there. And I think, I will say it again, I honestly use these more than I do Onyx. I've gotten used to them. They give me some more flexibility. And it's what I've changed over when I'm out in the field doing field work. So we got anything else on, you got anything else, Trey, on the mobile end? And we'll talk about regular GPS units for a minute, because it's going to be pretty simple.
And I was just going to throw in there really quick too that the layers are they're public hunting areas, so they're not necessarily just the elk. So you can use this outside of the elk for deer hunting for public. Yep. That interactive map has a lot more than just elk. So if you really get proficient at it, then you could start using it for public land deer hunting too, in addition to this elk hunting, kind of once in a lifetime opportunity for a lot of folks. So it can translate to other elk hunting experiences in the future. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think we maybe take it for granted because we're out there. I mean, I don't go anywhere without some way of knowing where I'm at when I'm in East Kentucky, just because of the nature of the work that we're doing. I'm either marking where we might land a helicopter for research, or I'm out there marking fire lines for burns, or I'm marking a place that a road needs to be improved. I'm using this stuff all the time. I'm sure there's people out there that don't use this stuff all the time, but for your elk hunt, it's going to be critically important, and it'll be good to learn. You got plenty of time this summer to learn it. And I think that was a great point, Mark. If you got drawn for Taylorsville Lake deer hunt and knew what ridge you wanted to hunt, you can take a very detailed map in of that ridge and walk yourself in the dark in the morning and know exactly what's going on that ridge. So for sure. One thing I wanted to more or less end with was the idea of like a standalone GPS unit. I used one for years. I was a big duck hunter in West Kentucky, and when the backwater got up on the river and you couldn't tell where the roads or the ditches were, I think I bought one in like 2007 and thought it was the greatest thing ever. Super simple. Didn't even have maps on it. It just told me how to get to a point, But if I had a good day, I could mark that spot and get back to it later that year or in the years to follow. But I have all but transitioned away from carrying a standalone GPS unit. I've got a really nice Garmin here at the office that more or less gets used as a backup. It might get usually pack it if we're out we're doing bear work or something. Packet is kind of a backup safety where I could get a really precise location if we needed, if somebody got hurt, I needed help to get to me, more precise than your phone might be. I just simply have fully transitioned to using one of these services on my phone. And I would guess that lots of hunters are going to do that. If you specifically have a, standalone GPS unit that you've got some questions about, let me know and we can kind of work you through it in terms of getting some of these files and helping you get them on that GPS unit. But my guess is it's going to be a lot of people out there navigating on their smartphone, which is, like I said, what I've more or less completely converted to. And we'll throw in, everybody knows that I'm going to Colorado this fall. I'm not taking a GPS unit, taking my iPhone with, one of these services. Probably going to try to build my own Avenza map. And then I'll probably also, I've got Onyx for the whole country. So probably have that as a backup, but I'm probably going to use Avenza because I can build the map I want, showing what I want it to show. And I think that's the route I'm going to take. So hopefully this showed people some options. That was my goal today. We've got Trey and Joe have put together some great instructions on this stuff, which they showed you where it could be found on my profile. Getting the KML layers for Google Earth is something that can be a little bit difficult to find them elsewhere. We've got them in one spot. We've got directions to how to get to them, how to get them on there. So that's a good place to start. And then the Avenza, we should have, did we have Avenza directions or are we getting Avenza directions? You're muted.
We don't have Avenza directions in the site yet, but I'll add them up there in the next couple of days, so they'll be available for people to go through.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So basically sit down with those if you got questions. I'm not going to share Trey's contact info because I like to keep him, ready when, whatever problem I've got, I can send it to him and make sure he's not getting too bogged down. But if I don't know it or Joe doesn't know it or Mark doesn't know it, he's going to be the guy we talk to. So we'll get you an answer back. And honestly, we want to know how this stuff works. This has been, at least since I've been around in the Elk program, this has been a steady kind of evolution of products that we're trying to put out to make it easier, make it better for our hunters. If you've got suggestions or you've got some issues you're having with us, let us know. I mean, we're always trying to make this better. So number one, I want to thank Trey for joining us today. He's a busy guy. He's got the entire department upon his shoulders, making maps and keeping people happy and doing database work and running an entire program back there. So we appreciate your hour and a half that you've given us today for sure. And then number two, shoot me any closers you got. What do you think's most important from this whole thing?
I think the most important thing is that the hunter has options. They can have a simple solution if they want it, or if they want to get really technical and define exactly what they want and do a lot of the work before they ever step in the field, they can do that too.
Yep.
So I think the important thing is there's a solution for anybody here.
Yep, exactly. And, for our older or technologically challenged folks out there, I guarantee you got a grandkid or somebody that can whip this out quicker than any of the three of us can. So, use those folks. There's also some phenomenal tutorials on YouTube. There's a million tutorials on how to run Onyx on YouTube, just kind of the more common stuff. I'm sure there's 20 Avenza Maps tutorials on there that you can reference as well. If I find any good ones, I didn't have time this morning to look, but if I find any good ones, I'll put the links in the description on this video. So, all right, Mark, you got a closer for us?
Yeah, I guess just kind of reiterate some of the other stuff we've said already. Just make sure that especially if you're going to be doing it yourself in public land hunting, it will be very advantageous for you to figure out how to work one or two or three of these programs, whatever, just so you can keep yourself legal, because you don't want to go skirting, shooting an elk on somebody's private property and getting law enforcement involved. John mentioned it tends to happen once a year or so. So just make sure that you're aware. That way you're not wasting a lot of time. You're out there either. You get to the area where you want to be. Just make sure that you take time to do some e-scouting before you even get out, so you're not wasting energy hiking all over the place where there may not be good elk sign there. And if you just take some time to do some e-scouting beforehand, just focus on some areas where you think they might be based on some upcoming webinars on elk biology, and then get boots on the ground and use some of these offline map options to help you out when you're out in the field.
That's perfect. Absolutely. So my closer is going to be safety. We have somebody that sprains an ankle or something like that, you know, nothing terrible, but, you know, having a device where you can, you know, make a phone call out and give the EMTs your location, or give our law enforcement your exact GPS location, makes it a whole lot easier to find you. I'll tell you that. So keep that in the back of the mind if you're you know, if you're hesitant on spending the time to figure this out. You know, maybe that'll put you over the hump and give you a reason to figure it out. So very quickly, we'll close this thing out. I'm going to share me, Joe, and Mark's contact info like we always do, just in case you need it. So there's my office phone and email, Joe's office phone and email, and we've got Mark got his own page back here with his office phone and email. So give us a call. This should be airing sometime 4th of July week, so everybody have a good holiday. The week after that kind of 4th of July week, we'll have Dan Crank on here talking about elk biology. So we're kind of getting into the fun part where we're going to talk elk, talk hunting, and you know, really get things dialed in for the hunt. So again, Trey, I appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, John.
Thank you.